bet slightly over pot, someone calls, and this is our cue to raise. We have to get all the money in that we can at this point. We do not want to slow play. We're out of position. Bad cards can come. Even if you're still ahead, they can scare off your opponents. The low jack bet pretty big here relative to the pot, so this is an absolute slam dunk raise at this point. Calling just isn't good enough, unfortunately, because it will be hard to put more money in later, and as I say, there might be scare cards that can come there. So don't slow play your hands, please. This is something very important, because I see this from so many players. Just raise this one up as long as you know that you probably have the best hand, because this is what happens now. It's a four-liner to a straight out there. You check, low jack checks as well, and now the button bets. This doesn't scare me too much yet, but at the same time, now we don't really have such an amazing hand anymore, so calling is fine at this point. And on the river, which is a brick, villain bet 16 to 97. To me, this doesn't look super nutted. Of course, he could have a 7, but he could also have 5-6. He could have 9-6. He could have pocket 5s. He could have 9-8. I still see a lot of hands there that we beat, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. I would just flick in the call there. We only have to be good around 28-29% of the time, and I do think we are good. I don't think he's bluffing, but I think he could do this with a weaker hand. If he made it bigger, like 80, 90, or even more, I think I would fold, but for this size, I still think I would probably just call. You folded, someone else had a 7, which doesn't mean that he didn't have a 7, but yeah, I still think probably calling there. But for me, the mistake was on the flop. You just have to raise there. Please don't slow play. In this one, there's a raise, and then there is a 3-bet, and normally pocket 10s on the button would be a fold. Now, I know you explained that these guys, so the first one was like a very weak player who opened, very loose player as well, and the other one was very aggressive and did this very light. So in that case, I'm happy to 4-bet, which is what you did. Size wise, yeah, normally 4-bets are in position are a bit smaller, but it's okay to go like this. I would probably still have only made like 80 or so, because if you cold 4-bet, you're really telling him that you've got a really strong hand. So that's why you don't have to go that big, but on the other hand, that's fine to go like this as well. And we get called by this player, and the flop comes ace 5-5, obviously not great for you, and you decided to go with just over half pot to get him to fold everything that's not an ace. And this, I understand the thinking behind this, but I would have a line that's a little bit better, that makes you more money and risks less money here. Because the thing is, obviously, if he has an ace, you're not going to get him to fold. And I understand that you said that you wanted to bet here once and then let him, if he calls, then you would just surrender. Which I understand. But the better option in such a pot, in such a board, would be to go really small on this flop. And yes, you're not gonna get him to fold any pair by going small, but that's not your intention. If you want to turn tens into a bluff, first of all, that means that you really want to fold out jacks or queens pretty much, because I don't really think you would have kings there, and everything else, like either you beat that if he has 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, you don't need him to fold that, or he has an ace pretty much. And if he has a hand like king queen or queen jack or so, then he might fold for even a smaller bet. So I don't think this is the best way forward here. So in a pot of almost 200, I would probably go something like 35 or 40, because here's the thing, you could easily have ace king, ace queen there, so he can't just come out and raise you there. And if he does, you would have to risk like 150, 200 there, and in raising into a really strong range, because you 4-bet pre-flop, right? So that's why in a 4-bet pot you go about quarter pot anyway, and on such a board where no one has a 5, and it's really just about having an ace or not, and you have the better aces than he does usually by cold 4-betting, so you can just go much smaller and get called by everything. And here's the beauty of this play: you make it 35 here, he'll call with his entire range, and then on the turn you make it slightly bigger, you make it 75 or 80, still not huge because you're continuing your theme of having a really good ace. And I believe that if he has a hand like jacks or queens, then he will fold that one out there. But the other thing is, you don't even have to turn it into a bluff, because as I said, the only hands that you really fold out are jacks and queens, and everything else you either beat or you can't get them to fold. So that's why I think this is a bit of a mistake here. And even against jacks or queens, I'd prefer to make a little bit more money against them. Why not get the extra 35 and then delay the bigger bluff for the turn and get them to fold then? This is a little bit more advanced, but either way, in terms of hand reading, this wasn't super accurate, and I think you're risking way too much to try to get him to fold these exact two hands of jacks and queens, and you might not even succeed with that. He might still call, and then you say you're done with a hand, and then you'll lose and you will have lost that much. Whereas if you double barrel, jacks and queens are much more likely to fold than if you just go once pretty big here. He did fold though, and he had pocket jacks, so you managed to get him off one of those two hands that I said.
We do these sorts of hand breakdowns every week as part of my coaching program. So if you're serious about fixing your leagues for good, book a free league finder call with me and my team. It's the same process I've used to help dozens of players turn their game around and finally beat the live low stakes consistently. Book a call to see if you're a good fit for our next opening cohort. Click the link below to find out more.
Pocket kings after a raise, so that's a pretty big raise to 20, and I absolutely do not agree with this call. And I understand why you did it. It's a young, aggressive guy, whatever. But look what can happen here. There are 4 players behind you. They might all call, or even if just 2 of them call, you're going to a super multi-way flop with pocket kings. That's a disaster. You really, really, really do not want that. What you want here is to get this guy to commit more chips in there. And yeah, if he folds, he folds, but it's still better than going 4 ways to a flop here. Now, if you were on the button here already, it's a bit of a different story. That would be the thing that I explained in the multi-way master class, where we want the small blind and the big blind, if they're weak players, to call there, so that we can play pots against them, which would be different. But the problem here is that there are 4 players to act, and 2 of them have position on you, and it could turn out really ugly. So I would prefer here to just go with a big 3-bet, and if this guy has any sort of a hand, he will call or even 4-bet you, and if not, well, so be it. Then you just get him to fold, and then maybe you can start targeting this guy with some bluffs if he really folds to you in such a spot. As played, you were actually lucky. You went to a flop just heads up, and when he checks, you bet, and I think that is fine. You get called, and same thing on the turn. Now you even overbet, and he shoves. This, in theory, is worrying because it is super strong after you overbet for him to shove, but I still think that he could do this with worse. He could, like, he is saying that he's got a 10 there, really, and Yeah, he could be slow playing aces, but he could have queens, he could have jacks, he could have clubs like ace king of clubs, ace queen of clubs, something like that. I think we are good often enough to call here. You did call, and he had pocket queens, and there you see it. You could have just gotten all the money in pre-flop against him probably. Instead, you tried to slow play him, and if you had been unlucky, then the other players would have called behind. So I don't love it that much, this line, as I said. But here, at least post-flop, you did everything right.